get to know them a little bit more. I understand Dan and Teresa have been married going on 28 years. They met in 1993 when Dan was commissioned as a reserve infantry officer. They have 3 children. Their son Grant works for an IT company in Boulder, Colorado. Their second son Evan is an electrician's apprentice in Colorado Springs, and their daughter Tessa is a junior right here at Decatur High School. As a family, they have moved 11 times, including 4 deployments to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan, and 1 to Kosovo. This family's been very busy. As I said in my opening, it goes without saying this is an incredibly special day for this family, and I know that's an understatement. Dan, as I was telling you in the back before we came forward, I wish I could have brought a marching band with me from DC. I wish I could have brought a battery of howitzers down here to give you a 21-gun salute. I don't think Mayor Dickens would appreciate it, the howitzers. But just everyone, think about this for a moment. How rare this occasion is. Dan was commissioned in 1993, and in any given year group of officers, about 0.4% are nominated to Congress for moving on to general officer. 0.4%. Think about that. That's 4 out of every 1,000. Incredibly rare, and it goes without saying this is an incredible milestone for Dan's leadership journey. And so to prepare for a promotion as significant as this, I always ask the team to go back and talk to the officer and the family. What brought you into the Army, and what made you stay in this service that we do? So Dan was born, if you don't know, Dan was born and raised in Michigan City, Indiana. He loves his hometown, but he will tell you he wanted something more. So he joined the military to find some opportunities and to get a college education. And after serving a few years, he thought of leaving. Then 9/11 happened, and he decided to stay, and all of us are incredibly thankful for that decision. He worked at construction in high school, so he was naturally drawn to engineering. He rightfully changed his branch from infantry to engineers upon his transition from reserve to active duty. Yes, I said rightfully. He already had his Bachelor of Science in Construction Management from Purdue University, so that decision made a lot of sense, and we are a better regiment today because of that decision. And I know making his career even more special is that he gets to share it, not only with his family, but his identical twin brother, Dave. They were in the Army Reserves together. They went to the Engineer Officer Basic course together, the Engineer Captain's Career course together, CASCUBE, I forget what that acronym stands for, and Ranger School and Airborne School together. And I understand the first time Dan and Dave were ever on an airplane was when they were jumping out of one at Airborne School down at Fort Benning. How cool was that? Their families have been stationed together 4 times throughout their careers, and they both served in the great Rocket and Warren 3rd Infantry Division together during the invasion of Iraq. And in just a few minutes, at a separate ceremony, Dan's going to be assuming command of the South Atlantic Division. He comes here from his most recent assignment as our 99th Commandant of the U.S. Army Engineer School. And I will just share with everyone, it has been amazing to watch his talent in action, leading our regiment through some very difficult challenges. Dan, I shared this with you. I asked the Vice and Chief Staff of the Army to bring you back to South Atlantic Division because we just don't put anyone in charge of this very complex region. We're going to need all your talent in abundance as we take on the challenges and the opportunities, the many of them that are with us here in this region. So, as part of this promotion, ladies and gentlemen, I always like to include the oath of office. I'm going to ask Dan to recite that oath as part of the ceremony. And as I do that, I always ask everyone to go back and just listen to the words. This oath has been with us for some time. And I always argue it's the words in this oath that make us unique as a military around the world and make us the greatest military the world has ever seen. And why is that? It's because American soldiers, sailors, airmen, marine, and now space guardsmen, we don't take an oath to a king, a queen, a monarch, a political party, or a religious group. Now, other militaries do that. We work with other militaries that take those kind of oaths, but not here, not in America. We take an oath to an idea that's found in the Constitution of the United States, that all men are created equal, and we all have equal pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what makes us unique. We take an oath to those ideas. So Dan, thank you for including the oath in your ceremony today. We're incredibly proud of all that you've done and all that you're about to do as a general officer, and we all look forward to this next chapter in your remarkable career. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for soon-to-be Brigadier General Daniel Hibner and the entire Hibner family. Dan, let's make this official. I'll ask you and your family to join me at the colors, please.
Please remain seated during the publishing of the orders. Attention to orders. Headquarters, Department of the Army, Washington, D.C., 23 August 2022. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Daniel H. Hibner. In view of these qualities and his demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, he is therefore authorized and directed to wear the uniform and one-star insignia of the Brigadier General by authority of the Secretary of Defense.
I was trying not to say anything.
The military officer's oath is a combination of constitutional requirement, historical influence, and centuries-old custom. Though the first oath of office for government officials dates back to 1789, the version we use today was approved by Congress in 1868. Lieutenant General Spellman will now administer the oath of office to Brigadier General Hibner.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Daniel Harry Hibner,
Having been appointed an officer
having been appointed an officer
in the Army of the United States,
in the Army of the United States,
in the rank of Brigadier General,
in the rank of Brigadier General,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic.
I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the
and
same.
allegiance to the same.
I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which
of the office upon which
I am about to enter.
I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, Lieutenant General Spellman will present the General Officer belt and sidearm to Brigadier General Hibner. Lieutenant General Spellman is now presenting the General Officer belt. The history of the General Officer's belt dates back to World War II. It was first introduced in 1944 as authorized by the Army Chief of Staff. This thick but pliable black leather belt has an 18-karat gold-plated buckle imprinted with an eagle. General officers wear the belt at their discretion. Since World War II, the Army has also issued each newly promoted general officer a sidearm for personal protection. The sidearm that Lieutenant General Spellman is presenting to Brigadier General Hibner is the M18 Sig Sauer 9mm modular handgun system, the military version of the Sig Sauer P320 pistol, the standard sidearm issued by the United States Army. Each general officer is issued a general officer's flag embroidered in the center with his or her rank. The general's flag, when displayed, signifies the general's presence and the respect and courtesy afforded to the rank of general officer. Brigadier General Hibner will uncase and unfurl the one-star flag representative of an Army Brigadier General. Ladies and gentlemen, I present for the first time Brigadier General Daniel H. Hibner.
I'd like to thank everyone for sharing this special day with me, whether it was in person here or virtually. It means a lot. And Vince, thanks for being here for me today. Great invitation. I'd expect nothing less than from a Kemper old boy. And General Spellman, thank you for doing me this honor. I have to be honest with you, I never thought I'd be promoted by the Chief of Engineers, but here we go. I think back on the small decisions in my career that at the time seemed pretty unimportant. But now, as I look back, I can see how those little decisions nudged me on pathways that made this promotion possible. But the most important decision wasn't mine. It was 31 years ago, after successfully completing basic camp at Fort Knox, Kentucky, with my identical twin brother, Dave. And Dave and I decided that we were not going to attend Kemper Military College. What I didn't know is that while we were out with our friends that night before we were supposed to ship out, my mom had also made a decision, and that was that Dave and I would be attending. And the next morning, Dave and I and Mom and Dad shoved our suitcases in the Geo Metro and headed off for Boonville, Missouri. So thanks for that nudge, Mom and Dad, and for all your endless hard work to raise 6 kids. I'm so grateful for my upbringing and so grateful that you're both here today. I'd like to thank all my siblings, Lori, Amy, Beth, in your adventure since 2 in the morning to get here, Sarah, all for your amazing support. You're all hilarious and loving and fun. I love you all. And in terms of this moment, I especially need to recognize my brother Dave. We've been confusing people in the Army for 28 years. And we still do it today. And it's been fun. And I couldn't be luckier to have someone to be able to confide in, bounce ideas off of, and to share an Army career with. So thanks for everything. I'd also like to recognize former New Hampshire State Senator Bob Bossie, who saw a picture taken of me during the invasion of Iraq in a USA Today newspaper and reached out to me. Thanks for adopting this soldier and my family, and for all you've done for us in the years since. I mentioned Kemper earlier. I'd like to recognize my Kemper ROTC classmates. We had to grow up fast, early commissioning, and we did. What a great group of friends to begin an Army adventure with. I have many in my family to thank for their service in the military. my dad, Harry Hibner, who enlisted in the Air Force, my uncle, Steve Grimm, here today, enlisted in the Army, my uncle-in-law, John Wuthridge, who retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, and of course my brother Dave, and others. But I have a special mention of someone I want to recognize, my Uncle Andy Grimm. You fought and were gravely injured in Vietnam. You spent the rest of your life dealing with that injury, and I want to publicly tell you that I'm grateful for what you sacrificed for our nation. In the Army, there are countless soldiers and civilians I'm indebted to. Just in this room, Jason Talafero, Jason Kelly, Eric Bleckinger, General Spellman, General Stevens. It means a lot that you guys are here, but there's so many others that can't be here. But I want to thank those who are joining virtually, like General Semonite. There are hundreds of others that I would like to recognize. In my time in the Army, I've crossed paths with so many, both in the Army and the other services, far too many to recognize, and too little time to properly do it. So I would just say thanks to all that I've had the enormous privilege to serve with. Those that were my peers, those that I led, and those that led me. I'm humbled and honored to share our experiences. Times when we laughed, when we fought, when we mourned, and when we celebrated our successes. Nobody could have asked for more, and I'm here standing on your shoulders. Thank you for your camaraderie and your friendship. I must recognize one other officer, though. When I was a major, Colonel Jim Rainey trusted me to fill positions that I could otherwise never serve in, and the jobs that I was put in were not easy, but he always had my back, and he still does. So, Sir Lieutenant General Rainey, you've been there for me every time. I'm forever grateful for what you've done for me and my family. And then here's the hard part. Speaking of family, Teresa, Grant, Evan, and Tessa. You don't get to this moment without some hard times. Multiple deployments, you adapted to new installations and new communities. Many times, about a dozen times. You kept me strong and ready with your support and love while you found new jobs and made new friends. You know, I Googled how not to get emotional. It's not working. I know it wasn't easy. I know what you sacrificed, the proximity to your best friends, different sports teams, and much more. Thank you for being so resilient and so strong. I couldn't be more proud of you, and especially, I couldn't be more proud to call myself your father. Stupid Google. Teresa, now I warned you before we got married that I was going to go active duty in the Army, and that could mean anything. There could be war, deployments, moving a lot, and who knows what. And you promised me way back then that you would be there for me, come what may. Well, everything we talked about basically happened. And then some, a Kosovo deployment, 4 Iraq deployments, an Afghanistan deployment, countless trips to the Middle East, days in the field, rotations at NTC. Thanks for keeping your promise and being there for me no matter what. I'm so lucky to have you, and I love you so much. As I move forward, I intend to change nothing, regardless of my rank. I've always given my best at whatever I was doing, and I always tried to do good for others, and I've always tried to make my organization successful. But I do acknowledge that I can do all of those things on a different scale now, and I promise that I'll do everything that I can to do just that. Thanks to everyone for sharing this special moment with me and my family. As Seance, we will succeed.
Everyone is already standing, so let's play the engineer and Army songs.